Department of Commerce and Trade take out court order against landowners. Provincial Treasurers discuss district challenges. And our volleyball team to defend gold at the Pacific Games.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
Good evening and welcome to Wednesday's news. It's good to have your company again. A national court order has been served on several people who have been involved in recent protests against the Chinese government-funded Pacific Marine Industrial Zone in Madang. The Secretary of the Department of Commerce, Trade and Industry served the order through its lawyers. The order restrains several people, including Sumkar MP Ken Fairweather, outspoken Madang anthropologist Nancy Sullivan, and Kananam villagers Point Caspar and Camillus Matai. Another prominent Madang figure restrained has been a founding father of the PNG Constitution and Madang statesman Sir Angmai Bilas. The order stops them from holding consultative meetings with people over the PMIZ.
In March, people in Kananam staged a protest over the proposed Pacific Marine Industrial Zone. Those interviewed by EMTV Point Caspar, Camillus Manat and Madang anthropologist Nancy Sullivan have all been issued restraining orders by the National Court, preventing them from protesting against the PMIZ project.
Basically, what this someone says is, you people shut up, okay? You people shut up. You people don't have any rights.
The PMIZ project will be built on land first acquired by the Catholic Church in the 1800s, before it was sold in 1999 to RD Tuna and later bought off by the state for 4 million kina. The Trade, Commerce and Industry Department argues that the land on which the PMIZ will be built has a state title.
And the state spent millions to buy the land from RD. So really when you talk about land, who is the landowner? There's no landowner. Government is the landowner. People forget that.
Commerce Minister Richard Maru made this statement in an earlier interview last month. Immediate resource owners from Kananam say they weren't part of the agreement between China's Exim Bank and the government, an agreement signed between the Chinese bank and the state. They still recognize land on which the PMIZ will be built on as their own.
Gazettal declaration notice of acquisition law Widar plantation. So lo soy o proving me blows and true and buy this ground 4 million.
The restraining order comes after the group held numerous peaceful canoe protests. Last week, the government department took out a restraining order stopping further protests and meetings. Some parts of the restraining order written in Chinese, a reminder of the investors' interests.
Embed displacing me bla, moving me bla kolo narpa location. We have we me bla tumbuna na papa been brought up long now me bla not most have long now.
Last month, amidst opposition, the SEC clan handed over a petition to the government to stop the project.
On the 20th of May, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill responded in a statement saying the government will continue to support the PMIZ project. The project is expected to generate 2 billion kina in annual economic activities and create over 20,000 jobs for Papua New Guineans. O'Neill added that the landmark proposal is before NEC for consideration. It will be jointly owned by the local community, national government and the provincial government. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Madang.
All 7 suspects in the kidnapping attack of 2 Madang doctors have been rounded up by the Madang police and are now locked up at the Jomba police station cells. Officer in charge of Criminal Investigations Division, Inspector Stephen Yalamu, says the main suspect, one of the 2 caught on Monday, gave information to police about his other accomplices. The 4 suspects, rounded up from different locations around Madang town yesterday night, are yet to be charged. The Provincial Police Commander, Sylvester Kalat, says the suspects are in the cells awaiting their court hearing tomorrow. More than 200 Provincial Treasury staff are in Lae City for the next 2 days to discuss challenges, opportunities and government policies affecting the districts. One of the main focuses of the meeting is to find ways to bring all stakeholders to work together. District treasuries form the backbone in the government's financial mechanism.
This gathering in Leh has brought together the provincial treasurers from all over the country. The treasurers have become an important part in the government's service delivery mechanism in the last 20 years, and more so in the last 5, with unprecedented levels of government funding going to the districts. This morning, the finance minister told the conference the system can only work if the dots made up of stakeholders and provincial treasuries are connected.
It really boils down to the public servants we have working in those districts and provinces to step up. And for us in the finance department, we're now trying to capacity them properly.
The finance department has long been the target of criticism over allegations of misappropriation and corruption. It still is. The department has appeared before the Public Accounts Committee and investigations have been ordered into its workings. Meetings like this are crucial to identify the flaws and fix them as part of ongoing efforts to improve. The minimum qualification to work in district treasuries will be a first degree in accounting or a related field.
We recognize there are skill gaps in people as well as systems. One way that we've started to address that is through the introduction of a new specialized degree in public sector accounting. We've already started that at the PNG-IPA in partnership with the University of Papua New Guinea.
The system of district treasuries is one that is still being perfected, and it still faces its challenges of potential corruption and political interference, but many argue it's in a far better place now than it was 10 years ago. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Leh.
Finance Minister James Marape says funding cuts to non-essential areas of expenditure will be made to cater for shortfalls caused by the low oil prices. But Marape says the government is confident of returning to a surplus budget in 2016 and 2017 when oil prices are expected to recover. Oil prices are currently trading at $50 a barrel, which has meant that projected revenue has not been forthcoming. According to the Finance Minister, PNG will still maintain financial composure over the next 3 years.
Oil prices affected us, but look, as I said already, from what we can do, we will control our expenditures and hopefully maintain the economic composure as we said through this one. And because it's now stabilized at around $60, $50-$60, it gives us some confidence due to early cargo of gas that we've sold out early too. It gave some buffer for us, and we will be sailing this year in a relatively smooth sailing.
Well, interest in the first home ownership scheme has been overwhelming since the government and Bank of South Pacific entered an official agreement last year. Today, the media witnessed the contract signing ceremony at the government's house. The agreement details some of the key conditions the government requires for people who are making applications for those loans. To date, BSP has funded a total of 25 loans at an amount of 8.4 million kina. Most of these are in the NCD.
Today at the Government House, Governor-General Sir Michael Ogio and BSP CEO Robin Fleming signed the documents. Also there were BSP Deputy General Manager Retail Kili Tambua, Chief Credit Officer Mike Hallinan, and Government Representative Isaac Lupari. From a housing perspective, CEO Fleming said housing is important in being able to create wealth for PNG's economy. He said it's also important from a staff welfare perspective. Mr. Fleming said BSP as an employer provides a number of incentive packages to try and get their staff into houses, and he encouraged other employers to do the same. He said those interested in housing loans also have to look at their own financial situation and try to save. While there are some conditions to the loans, including a maximum loan amount of 400,000 kina, both the O'Neill Dion government and BSP believe that the first home ownership scheme will help address housing issues and offer wealth creation opportunities. BSP will provide housing loans to approved first home borrowers over a 40-year term and at an interest rate of 4% per annum. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
PNG Power has advised that as of June 9, 2015, the company is no longer accepting any cash payments in all its PNG Power premises. From now on, customers are to pay for their electricity supply using their mobile phones to pay for Easy Pay and BSB mobile banking. All PNG Power centres will only take cheques worth 75 kina and above. The independent agencies that sell Easy Pay, like vending sites at shops, are not affected by this notice. This is only for PNG Power Limited premises. Among stories coming up after the break, the launch of Kiserabada 4, the lugger toy that will escort the game's baton. That plus many more after the break. Stay with us. Good to have you back with the news. Central Province is set to carry the game's baton on the traditional lugger toy when it tours the province in the coming days. This was made possible today with the launch of the lugger toy at Gaire Village. The lugger toy, Kiserabada 4, will take a crew of locals travelling 48 kilometres over the Coral Sea to reach the National Capital District.
The lugger toy anchored on shore at over 40 feet long and triple-hulled. And with the Larabara breeze coming in from the east, young and old had prepared hours earlier in anticipation for the launch. The last lugger toy expedition had been in 1951, Gaire having historical significance in terms of the traditional Hiri voyage, with a member of the last lugger toy journey amongst the guests. Traditional Hananamo dancers performed the shark dance to welcome guest of honor Mira Ikupu to officiate proceedings. A prayer commencing the ceremony before LLG President Hauda Ovia presented his remarks.
Our forefathers taught us the way to work together to achieve development. Our forefathers showed us the way to unite ourselves, to fight poverty, and to fight other issues that affect our daily lives. And that challenge is not only on the leaders, but it's also on the citizens of Hiri, Central Province, and Papua New Guinea as a whole.
Karuku-Hiri District Administrator Nikki Gorua pledging further support on behalf of local MP Peter Isoaimo.
May I announce the commitment he has done to carry a unit, which is another 10,000 kina. And so at Boyat, at the launching of the Bogabada Laptop, and today at the launching of the Kiserabada.
And Motukoita Chairman Mira Ikupu also receiving an honorary replica.
They did that with dedicated commitment and sacrifice. There has been lives lost during this Lagasoi exhibition. I now call upon the Motukoita and the Motukoita people. The site when we see a laboratory being constructed, I want us to know how they tie the knot. This is why every year, in and out, we bring laboratory educational program. But we call upon the government to fund us.
Kiserabada 4 will join the Karabada and Bogabada vessels and can bear on its triple hulls up to 50 villages each. Now it will arrive in Port Moresby, on the shores of Port Moresby actually, on the 29th of June. It will carry with it the Pacific Games baton, and that provides yet another chance for the Motuan people to showcase not just their culture, but the heritage of the Lagatoy. Jeremy Mogi, National EMTV News.
Papua New Guinea and the United States of America will continue to share common goals, among them the promotion of healthcare for its people. These were the words of Brigadier General William Burks, who was in the country to witness the conclusion of the Pacific Angels 2015 exercise. The exercise, conducted in Garauga, saw medical treatments being administered to more than 600 people.
Pacific Angel 2015 brought together medical professionals, logistics personnel, planners and contracting specialists from several countries. This exercise was led by the US Air Force. Brigadier General William Burks was in the country to witness the conclusion of Pacific Angels 2015 and was full of praise for all those involved.
And I would anticipate that the same successes that in trials and tribulations that this one was met with will have the same one. But it's such a great opportunity for the interchange, if you will, between the civilians and the military, as well as other militaries from around the region to all participate together. In the advent of having to do it for real for like a disaster response or a humanitarian assistance crisis that may hit, it's much better to meet and greet before one takes place than after the fact and trying to get everybody together then. So these exercises are just immensely invaluable, not only to the United States military, but I think all the militaries and civilian organizations, as well as the national government, non-governmental organizations that are out there. They can play in these.
U.S. Ambassador to PNG, Walter North, also heaped praise for those involved, adding that the Pacific Angel exercise was another way in which the U.S. was strengthening its ties with PNG. He added that the exercise built a deeper mutual trust and cooperation between our two great countries.
A series of significant exercises we're doing this year with our defense forces, and they're working hand in hand with the PNG Defense Forces, which I think is a great example of cooperation. But it's also a fantastic evidence, if you will, that President Obama's commitment to rebalance to the Pacific, this area of the world which is really the center of economic gravity in the 21st century, the place where we're a Pacific nation too, where both of our futures lie, is an area that deserves deeper and more sustained engagement from the United States. And I'm very happy that General Burks and his team were able to come here to execute Pacific Angel with partner nations. It wasn't just the United States, we had some other partners, as well as the PNG Defense Forces, because I think it's an indication that we take our responsibilities in the Pacific seriously, that we recognize the great potential that exists in Papua New Guinea, and that we want to be here.
Meribatulo, National EMTV News.
Newly appointed Secretary for the Department of Labour and Industrial Relations, Mary Morola, has issued a stern warning to non-performing staff of her department. She says all staff will be expected to perform to their level best with strict adherence to punctuality. She took over from the outgoing Secretary, George Vaso, today after her appointment by the NEC last month.
The formalities did not go according to plan, with the Minister Benjamin Poponawa and outgoing Secretary George Vaso absent. As such, it was viewed as takeover without a handover. There was a sense of bitterness amongst the staff as they felt protocols were not followed. Despite the blunder, Secretary Morola thanked the outgoing Secretary George Vaso for his leadership and vowed to take over from where he left. Her key priorities will be to implement the new labor reforms such as the Industrial Relations Bill, among others.
Support and guidance and even challenges he gave me to mold me to be where I am today.
Staff members were also reminded of their duty to perform without excuses or face disciplinary actions. Strict financial measures will also be enforced to ensure budgeted funds are spent economically.
Must display professional attire at all times during official hours of work. Every officer, from heads of office to the lowest officer, must perform their level best. I will expect that they will perform to their level best. And performances must be monitored and measured against officers.
Tripartite committees such as the Trade Union Congress and the Employers Federation urged Morola to continue dialogue to achieve decent work through social dialogue and tripartism. Morola gave her word to ensure dialogue on these continues in order to improve workers' welfare. Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
The East New Britain Provincial Government says the national government's plan to transform East New Britain into a tourism hotspot is on schedule. Deputy Provincial Administrator Edward Lamour says the provincial government will soon release its tourism master plan. Areas that will be developed include Tokoa Airport, the Kokopo-Tokoa Corridor, and sewage and water upgrade in Kokopo Town.
The East New Britain Provincial Government yesterday announced the progress of its urban development plan. First, the Tokoa Airport will be redeveloped to international standard to cater to overseas flights, Also, land will be made available along the Kokopo-Tokwa stretch. This will serve both industrial and commercial developments as well as the hospitality industries along the foreshore.
We are doing tourism in the industry. We are doing it in sports. We will be doing it in education. We want to do it also in health. So those are the different facets of what we want to do in tourism.
The town's water and sewerage system will also be upgraded. The Kokopo urban local level government collects about 60% of its internal revenue from garbage, sanitation and market fees. Kokopo received significant recognitions in the 2014 national budget. 58 million kina was allocated by the national government to transform the town into a tourism hub. There's no clear figures yet given on how much Kokopo will get in the next year's budget, but the provincial administration says the national government's plan in transforming Kokopo into a tourism destination is working.
We believe we'll lay the foundation for tourism development. Of course, we say thank you to all those people who are in the tourism industry already, because those lay foundation, and now we play by strong in foundation can belong strong in the concept or big planting thing belong national government. So
while the provincial administration deals with the urban plan, it's also looking into improving other areas in its renewable sector. This is to give equal opportunity to its ordinary people to participate meaningfully and assist in the growth of their economy. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
A recent report by the Department of Implementation and Rural Development concluded that provincial funds have improved services in Southern Highlands Province. The report stated programs initiated by Southern Highlands Service Improvement Program funds has improved infrastructure, health and education facilities. This report was filed after a 5-member team from the department visited the province, spending 22 days reviewing all PSIP, DSIP and LLG-SIP projects.
As the lead agency to develop administrative frameworks for the Service Improvement Program, the Department of Implementation and Rural Development traveled to Southern Highlands to inspect projects funded under the PSIP, DSIP and LLG-SIP. Observations concluded that Mendi District is the top, followed by Nipa Kutubu in terms of delivering impact DSIP projects and equally distributing it throughout the LLGs and wards. Further observations relate to the Southern Highlands provincial government, stating that the provincial government under Governor William Powie is undergoing transformation in terms of the approach to service delivery in the province. The report of May 2015 concluded that services are having an impact on lives of people, especially road projects. Under the PSIP, 15 road projects with an investment of over 15 million kina were inspected by the team. There are 14,000 kilometers of roads under the responsibility of Southern Highlands Provincial Administration. Such reports are to ensure that public money intended for delivery of basic services to provinces and districts are complying with set procurements and guidelines. Through the SIP, LLGs receive 500,000 kina, districts 15 million kina, and provinces 25 million kina annually. In 2013, approximately 45 million kina was released to the province, comprising 25 million PSIP, 50 million DSIP for the 5 districts, and another 10 million kina for the 20 LLGs. The government in its 2012 and 2013 budgets has appropriated major component of its development expenditure to the provinces, districts and LLGs, which will continue for the next 2 to 3 years. Michelle Amba, National EMTV News.
And now we check out the finance news. The kina closed at $0.3665 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, our kina was trading at $0.3590 $0.4638 Australian dollars, $0.3145 euro, and 44.22 Japanese yen. Taking a look at commodity prices at New York close, gold and cocoa closed the day lower, while coffee and copra closed higher. Palm oil closed the day lower, while copper and crude oil closed the day higher on the stock market. The Dow Jones closed at 2 points lower, the ASX closed at 46 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed at 35 points lower as well. Still to come on National EMTV News, access to the 2015 Pacific Games for people with disability. Stay tuned for that story plus more. Good to have you back with the news. Turning overseas, in South Korea, 9 people are dead, 2,500 have been quarantined, and about 2,000 schools remain closed following the country's largest outbreak of Middle East respiratory syndrome. 13 have contracted the deadly virus, bringing the amount of confirmed cases to 108. South Korea has been struck with the largest MERS outbreak outside of Saudi Arabia, where the virus was first discovered. Today, the deadly virus claimed its 9th victim since it first came under the radar late last month, according to the nation's health ministry.
As of now, there are a total of 108 MERS cases. 13 more cases were confirmed yesterday, and as of now, a total of 9 people have died. 1 patient was discharged from hospital today, so a total of 4 patients now have left. 11 patients are in an unstable condition.
Keiji Fukuda and his team of experts from the World Health Organization arrived in Cheongju to evaluate the response to the outbreak.
I think the role of the international experts here is to learn along with you about what this virus is doing in a new situation, and then we will be working very closely with the government to strengthen its efforts to bring this under control as quickly as possible.
Fukuda also said his team will look at how and why the virus managed to spread rapidly despite the lack of knowledge on its modes of transmission.
We know that when new outbreaks and new viruses appear in any country, that these outbreaks often cause a tremendous amount of difficulty, and so we again congratulate the government for making such strong efforts to deal with the situation.
WHO has not recommended a travel ban, but thousands of tourists have cancelled plans to visit South Korea. MERS was first identified in humans 3 years ago in Saudi Arabia and is caused by a coronavirus, which comes from the same family as the one that triggered SARS. Scientists don't really know where the virus came from, and the way in which humans get infected remains a mystery. Its symptoms include fever, cough, and shortness of breath. Other symptoms: nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. MERS has a death rate at 38%, essentially meaning that 1/3 of people who get infected die, according to WHO statistics. Back home, 3 schools in the nation's capital have fallen victims to a fraudulent transaction of tuition fee-free funds involving the Education Department and a Korean company. The schools are Ward Street Primary, Gordon Secondary, and Badili Vocational. Each school paid over 56,000 kina to Sangwon International Limited to install a computerized access control system. However, they later learned that the Education Department had already paid the company, and the schools now want their money back.
Head teacher of Ward Street Demonstration Primary School, Emily Tamateriki, says some officers within the Education Department knowingly tried to defraud the 3 schools. In 2013, the Education Department chose Ward Street Primary, Gordon Secondary, and Badili Vocational to be part of a pilot project to install a computerized access control system. The department gave the contract to Sangwon International Limited, a Korean company, to install the access system. However, the Education Department did not have any funding for the project. Instead, they verbally instructed the 3 schools to use the tuition fee-free funds to pay for the project. Gordon Secondary and Ward Street Primary have paid 56,666 kina each, while Badili Vocational paid 56,000 kina.
We are victimized by the double dip. In this, I mean the department paid the company the said amount, and the schools and the vocational center, we all paid what was expected, only because the department didn't have the funding, so we had to go ahead and pay off. We expected that outstanding, not an outstanding, that occurrence that was ours in due to be settled by the department. Up until today, as we speak, it has not been settled.
The schools carried out their own investigations and found out that the project cost less than 123,000 kina, but the company has been overpaid by the schools and the education department.
So that we could pay. So we were pushed. We were just pushed to pay. We were forced to pay. And, which is not good. This Korean company actually got the money from the department, what they had signed for.
The schools are demanding their money back. However, the company said they will only return the money if their lawyers instruct them to. The schools are taking the matter to court. Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
Well, prominent social media personality Brian Kramer will lay criminal charges against those who were behind his arrest last year. The social media and political commentator was charged for allegedly conspiring with others to kill the then Minister for Police and Madang MP Nixon Duban. Yesterday, the Waigani Committal Court dismissed the conspiracy to kill charges against Kramer for lack of sufficient evidence. It was alleged that on the 19th of December 2013, Kramer, knowing that he would lose the by-election for Madang Open, gave his firearm to youths who were named as co-conspirators. Mr. Kramer says he is not interested to sue the state, but will take to court individuals who were behind his arrest.
So following the decision of the court now, I'm going to now be pursuing criminal charges against those that I believe conspired against me to have me charged. So under the Criminal Code Act, a witness that gives a false statement can face criminal charges. People who conspire to bring false charges against someone is also a criminal offense. And I will also be seeking a civil suit against those involved who brought the charges against me. Doing the state, even though I've been advised that I have a strong case against the state, against the police for bringing false charges against me.
On a brighter note, people living with disability will have access to watch the 2015 Pacific Games live. For many years, access to sporting infrastructures, including stadiums, only catered for able-bodied persons. But architectural designers for all sporting venues here in Port Moresby have designed stadiums and sporting complexes that have pathways for wheelchair persons to access.
Access to infrastructure and buildings has been a challenge for people living with disability. For years, people with special needs, particularly those on wheelchair, have been denied access to buildings in schools, public office and sports stadiums. However, the government has recognized the rights for people living with disability. Unlike past international events held in PNG, including the then South Pacific Games in 1991, people with disability will for the first time have access to all sporting facilities for the Pacific Games next month.
That is the number one priority. The indoor stadium has wheelchair access, the outdoor stadium as well as the John Guys, including, of course, the new aquatic centre and, of course, the Games Village. So they have been designed purposely to ensure that disabled access is allocated and imported into the actual structure of the whole building.
In a recent visit to the new Caritas Sporting Complex, Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology Minister Malakai Tabar praised the building designers for allowing people with disability to see the games live.
Wheelchair people, they now have access and they can be part of the stadium, as part of the games. And I would like to thank more especially the designers and builders of this new building for accepting and allowing our people living with disability.
This new sporting complex will be officially open this Friday. Meanwhile, EMTV understands that the government has reviewed legislation allowing all buildings around the country to have access for people living with disability. Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
In Trukai Sports, Amoa, a combination of youth and experience, and they are our volleyball team to the games. Details coming up next.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to True Guys Sports. The national indoor volleyball team, PNG Samoa, has announced its final team for the 2015 Pacific Games next month. The bulk of its selected players is from Champion Volleyball Association, VAVA, and features a mixture of both youth and experience.
PNG Samoa Volleyball is geared up for the Pacific Games in Port Moresby with the announcement of the final men's team. The team has retained the core of the gold medal winning team from the 2013 Mini Pacific Games in Wallis and Futuna. The final composition was approved by FIVB to increase the squad numbers from 12 to 14, leading up to the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio. The selected team features exciting talent to make their Pacific Games debut: Junior Momo Utara, Junior Harold Gima, and Walter Henao.
Me and my student, it's the first time for me this last Pacific Games. I'm very proud student wearing this PNG jersey play on soil by me.
The team also has the experience of Captain Ravu Mahuru, Velpu Kila, and Seta Gia Kappa, who are no strangers to the international stage, and will be supported by teammates Ula Gima, Charlie Mino, and George David. The PNG Samoa men will be ready to face tough competition from New Caledonia, Tahiti, and defending Pacific Games champions Wallis and Futuna. Dion Kambang, National, EMTV Sports.
Well, since her days playing as a fourth grader in Port Moresby, Vavine Yore was destined for a greater path in touch rugby. Announced as one of the Games ambassadors of the Games and sweeping up bronze in the World Cup was among her achievements that she has guarded dearly. Despite sacrificing 18 months away from the workforce, juggling training and being a mother, Vavine is confident that come the Games, touch rugby is eyeing gold.
Coming from a sports-oriented family, Vavine's path in a sports career resonated in primary school, where a regular jersey fitted like a dress.
I was always running on the wing, and the thing I remember the most, I guess it's the funniest thing, is that the uniforms that I used to wear when I started playing were like dresses to me because they're so big. They were like an adult size, but because I had to wear a uniform, I had to wear a dress and play.
Touch rugby has given her a platform to excel, to travel, and set a benchmark in PNG sports history.
It's the first team this year to come home with a bronze medal and finish third after the Giants, Australia and New Zealand. So that was one big honor, privilege, and an experience that will never go away in many, many years to come.
With success comes sacrifice, one that Vavine had to juggle to be part of the Pacific Games. Being the eldest of 8, a wife and a mother of 1, and captain to a young team.
The hardest thing for me is trying to put yourself on the line every single day, but also protecting yourself and staying safe. And then being a mom, being a wife, being the eldest of the family. Tradition for Papua New Guinea is a really, really big thing. So keeping a balance between that and also being a sports woman, that's been the most challenging thing for me.
Taking out bronze in the World Cup in April and finishing 7th overall, Team Yore have set their sights on one goal.
Being an administrator, I've also been a coach and player, and I don't think I'm as good as her, so I think the pressure will be there, but I think she will do a great job for the team, for the country, for herself and for the family.
What will I say? Go for goal.
Scholar Sengi, National, EMTV Sports.
Over to cricket now. The Barramundis and the PNGA team are in Brisbane for more game time on the pitch in preparation for upcoming tournaments. Both teams played 2 friendly T20 matches against each other, with the Barramundis proving to be a force to be reckoned with by cruising over the PNGA team in last Friday's match. The 2 teams are in camp in Brisbane before the Barramundis head off for the Intercontinental Cup in the Netherlands, while the A team returns to the country for the Pacific Games. Well, True Guys Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
True Guys Sports.
Good to have you back with True Guys Sports. The Sir Hubert Murray Stadium at Conadoble will not host the Pacific Games closing ceremony and Rugby 9's matches. The Sir John Guy Stadium will be hosting the opening and closing ceremonies of the Pacific Games and the Rugby 9's matches, with the venue to be trialled out this weekend.
There is speculation that the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium will not be completed by next month. Events scheduled to be held at the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium, like the closing ceremony and the rugby nines, have been moved to the Sir John Guy Stadium. This weekend, Sir John Guys will be trialled during the Hunters game, followed by other sports like hockey and beach volleyball. Minister for Sports and Pacific Games Justin Tichenko said the venues were to be handed over on the 1st of June.
Venues will be ready, they all get handed over on June 1st to the Pacific Games Organising Committee to start decking them out and having them games ready for the Pacific Games on July 4th.
That was not to be, as it was moved to a later date. This is due to further finishing touches to be completed in and around the venues, like the car park at the Tauranga Aquatic Centre and further minor jobs at Bicini and the Sir John Guy Stadium. PNG Power is committed to providing unlimited power supply to venues during the games. Many venues will be generator operated, and PNG Power is doing all they can to ensure power shortage is not an issue.
PNG Power are committed to providing a fantastic, uninterrupted supply of power to the venues. Most of the venues are operating on primary source of power is gensets, plus PNG Power are doing a lot of work to ensure that where the venues are and not where there would be blackouts if there was a drain on power.
Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
The Old Surge Pacific Games baton relay has arrived in Kerema Gulf Province. The baton made its first stop at the Karahure Miaru community, where it was greeted and welcomed by traditional Sing Sing groups. MTV's Shane Soroya has more.
The team took to a convoy along the Hiritano Highway through to Malaloa with a welcome stop at Karahure as the baton made its journey into Gulf. A formal welcome by the members and people of the local area, and a Sing Sing performed by the Karahari and Miaru communities. There the relay team was presented with its most unusual gift yet. On its long journey, a baby crocodile, which team leader Temzin Wardley gently accepted. Next stop was at village of Lesiolai, where the traditional war cries met the baton as dancers appeared out of the mangroves to escort the baton to the community, and school children awaiting at the oval. From there, the relay visited the crew at the Wahoo drilling rig, owned by Total and Interoil. The relay convoy drove on towards Kerema, crossing bridges decorated with palm fronds, and even trees over the many rivers that run through the province. 2 short relays were run at Safeharo and in Kerema town itself as time started to beat the team. A final Sing Sing at Umai Primary School, supported by Dekenai, who are rebuilding the road into Kerema. A quick trip around Kerema town, and then the baton was off by helicopter, crossing acres of sago and meandering rivers with massive volumes of water pouring into the Gulf for its overnight stay at Kopi. Yulset's baton relay continues.
And that's how we wrap up our Trukai Sports segment for tonight. Coming up next, we'll bring you the weather details for the next 24 hours. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Taking a quick look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in southern region, all centres to expect fine weather. In Momase, fine weather expected in Ley City and Wau. In the New Guinea Islands, thundery showers expected in Lorengau, Kavieng and Buka. And lastly, in the Islands region, all centres fine, then morning fog. Well, that brings us to the end of tonight's bulletin. On behalf of the news crew, I'm Tokana Hasavi. As always, thanks heaps for your company. You take care and stay safe. Good night.